Hello everyone, my name is Nitika and today we are conducting a class on our capsule course on cat reading comprehension for all of those who are targeting cat 2021. It's a fruitful session for you guys, and even those who are targeting cat 2022, it will prove to be an influential and informative session for you guys. Today we are targeting types of questions there are on the examination. Just before I explain anything, I will introduce myself. My name is Nitika Dawar. I have more than 9 years of experience training students for various management exams such as CAT, GMAT, GRE, XAT, IFT, NMAT, and many more managed entrance exams. Other than that, I have a 99 percentile on the XAT examination. I have done both my graduation and post graduation on in literature, and I'm the author of an application module of aptitude learning. First of all, I would like to explain you guys how to find me. What you have to do is you have to download the Unacademy learning app. So you just have to search Unacademy learning app on your phones, on your devices, and then just install that application. Once you're done installing, you guys have to register cat as your plus and your goal. So you have to register CAT as your plus course and your goal for the entrance exam, and then go about getting the subscription. While purchasing the subscription, you will be met with various options which are available: 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months and 24 months options. And you will see that the 12 and the 24-month options are the most lucrative ones. Now, while purchasing the subscription, you should use this referral code that I'm providing you. My referral code is Nitika10, which is NITIKA 10, which will help you to get a 10% waiver of your fees. Now, you can use this code to go for any program, so it really doesn't matter which course you're going for. You can use the referral code to get a 10% off for any course that you are aspiring for. I would also like to inform you guys of some batches which we have recently begun, and we are planning to begin really soon. So, for example, there is a beginners batch that we are planning to start for CAT 2020-21. It started on 21st of December, that is yesterday, and you have an amazing pool of faculties who are going about it. There is another revision batch for CMAT 2021 going on, which again started yesterday itself. You have a very beautiful group of faculties who are going to train you and prepare you and make sure that your preparation is in line with the expected course. And other than that, you guys have this complete weekday batch for CAT 2021, which is a very engaging course. In this, you will see that it starts on 23rd December. So you're lucky in case you haven't still registered yourself. Guys, do not forget to use the referral code. It is Nitika10, and you will get a 10% waiver. Now let's see what we have at hand today. Just like I said, today we are targeting the types of questions that come on the reading comprehension on the CAT examination. So when we're going for the CAT exam, I hope you guys are aware RC remains a major chunk. So we have already discussed how reading comprehension remains a big chunk of your examination, with 24 questions out of 100 being what? Reading comprehension. So it's one fourth of your exam, right? So more or less what we are looking at is that it is like a do or die situation. Either you prepare yourself for RC, or else you completely lose your hope. And here, while preparing you guys for the CAT examination, I'm just trying to prepare you guys for 99 percentile and nothing less than that. So when we are preparing ourselves for a percentile like such, we have to ensure that we are targeting those areas which are completely known to be coming on the examination as a major chunk, and reading comprehension remains that such an area. So readers are thinkers, as I have mentioned. And when it comes to CAT RC, you guys are already aware. I've made you guys aware of the fact that there are going to be very less specific detailed questions, and there are going to be more inference based questions. And we have also discussed what all types of passages come upon the examination. And you have been made aware how we go about making ourselves acclimatized to various such types of passages and how we are trying to go down with it further. Other than that, these inference based questions which I was talking about, these questions are divided into various categories, and today we are going to discuss what these categories are. So we have already discussed a part of it. For example, we have discussed a few such questions, and we are yet to discuss these three type of questions. Rest we have already discussed. So we have discussed idea based questions, main idea questions, implied idea questions, specific idea, contextual meaning, and example based questions. So because it is a lengthy topic, and like I have told you guys earlier as well, RC is not an area that you will be able to attempt or finish or prepare for in a fortnight or overnight altogether. It takes time, it is a step by step process, and it constantly needs the engagement of your faculties, of certain tricks and techniques. Like I told you guys before, you're going for an aptitude exam, and the fact that you guys are going for an aptitude exam itself is very clear that you guys have to apply a lot of tricks and techniques to make sure that you're getting a perfect 99. So, as I have already told you guys, we always look at accuracy over attempt. So, this is what we are trying to do in order to make sure that your accuracy is at par with what is expected out of you. Now, let's look at these three question types in a bit detail. For example, let's start with the very first one, further application questions. Now, as the name reveals, these questions demand the application of logic to extend the passage from where it ended. So, what do we exactly mean by such question types is that these questions test the knowledge of the passage in a light where they will give you a question which not necessarily will be related to the passage or will be coming out of the passage. So it's not necessarily going to come from the past, but they are asking you to extend the knowledge that you have gained, extend your inferences to another area altogether. So now again, it depends on your understanding of the author's line. How well are you able to understand author's logic and the author's structure and the author's main idea? If you guys have deciphered these three things, trust me, it might not be very difficult for you to identify how, what kind of an answer will you be developing for an further application type question. Now let's look at a few question stems for these type of questions. It says the next paragraph of the passage is likely to deal with what? Now, they have given you a passage and they expect that you have been able to understand how the author has developed his passage and what line of thought he is carrying throughout the passage. And now they are trying to test you on a similar note by trying to ask you the next paragraph following the last paragraph, the ultimate paragraph, is likely to deal with what? This is basically to judge whether you have understood how the author has gone about formulating his passage, what is his line of thought, what he is intending towards, and whether you are able to predict or anticipate what he would have done had there been another paragraph after this. So that's what is going on over here. Let's get the next one. It says which of these are similar to the example used by the author. So another one example which would be mentioned in the passage is being used to identify four different options which are completely not related to the passage. You just have to see which of the following options as an example which is similar to the example as stated in the passage. So More or less, you are just using the knowledge from the passage to answer a question which might not necessarily be coming out of the passage. So it becomes tricky for a few, but trust me, it is not that difficult. You can easily target it if you have the right trick and technique. The next type of question is, with which of the following statements is the author most likely to agree or disagree with? Now, the author has finished his logic, right? Now, they will give you a question which will have some statements, and you have to think about all the things that you learned about the author. What is he likely to agree with? What is he likely to disagree with? And what kind of things he might, what kind of thoughts he might possess, and what kind of thoughts he might refrain from possessing. So, these are the kind of things that we really need to think about before marking the correct answer. The next question here is, which of the following statements is the author most likely to agree or disagree with? Okay, we have done this. The passage is most likely an extract from. So, here in this question, this is a very popular question where they give you four options and you have to decide whether the passage is coming from a thesis, a book review, or a newspaper editorial, or probably a history book, or something like that. So, you have to measure the contents of the passage. What is the author's tone? So there are a lot of elements which will come together before analyzing what should be the correct answer for this kind of a question. For example, for this kind of a question, we'll have to look at the tone of the author. We'll have to look at the structure of the author. So for of the passage, for example, an option is given for a book review. Now we don't know whether if we don't know what is the structure of a particular book review, whether we'll be able to mark the correct answer or not. So this is the thing that we really need to prepare ourselves for in advance. The author of the passage is most likely A or an. Now, this kind of a question is also very popular. We'll give you options like a historian, a scientist, or whatever options will make sense according to that passage. So, they're asking you the author based on his viewpoint and based on his tone. What does he seem to be? Right? There was this one cat passage where it was a question which came. The author of the passage is most likely not to be a. So the question was not to be a. So to be very honest, if we look at the passage, we couldn't have been able to tell whether the author would have been a scientist or a historian, but we were for sure the fact that he would not be a historian for some certainty, because in the passage he quite clearly mentions that I'm not a historian. The answer of a historian, insofar I'm capable of giving, the fact that I'm not a historian but I can give the answer of a historian, so we could have marked the correct answer. So that was a trick question. So this is how cat is notorious for bringing such questions which will really confuse you, which will trick your mind, and without the application of option traps and proper techniques, you might not be able to get to the correct answer. Now, what should be your approach? Let's try to look at that. Now, what you have to try to do is you have to read the last paragraph carefully, as this will give you the idea of what may follow next. Now, this is for that question where you are asked to, go about finding out what will be the next paragraph dealing with. And you should think about the general progression of the passage in terms of the ideas contained in the paragraph, and apply the same logic to extend the ideas of last paragraph. Now, for source of passage or profession of the authors, eliminate options on the basis of target reader group. It will be hinted by the use of jargons or theory. So try to think target reader group कौन हो सकता है, right? Could it be some students? Could it be some students of science, or some students of history? So you can try to look at all the jargons which have been used, the technical terminology which has been used, the theories which have been postulated in the paragraph. So for example, the paragraph talks about theory of absolute relativity. Now, definitely, a historian will not go about using such a theory. So, we have to try to come up with such, ideas to eliminate certain options like such. But other than that, just like I've discussed before, if you guys have option traps by your side, it becomes all the more easier for you to go ahead and mark the correct answer, right? Now let's look at the logical structure type questions. What do we mean by logical structure type questions? Now this kind of question tries to test the overall logic of the author, how he has used the logic to develop the passage. Again, a very deep level of understanding of the passage, grasping and the inferences is required to mark the correct answer. So the very first question that you have to ask yourself while going about such questions is the primary purpose of the author. What do we mean by the primary purpose? Primary purpose is the reason why he has gone about writing the passage. So if you know the reason why the passage was written, it becomes somewhat acceptable or easy to read for you guys or to go ahead with such questions. So we can look at a few question stems which come from such question types. The author states his main point primarily by. So how is he stating his main point? And the develops the main passage by. So this directly questions the structure. Have you been able to identify? So for example, the author started with a basic introduction and then went on to negating his own viewpoint and then gives us some examples to illustrate his idea, and in the end mentions what all could be done, gives certain solutions. So, are you able to make this kind of a flow chart or not? Are you able to come up with a basic idea how the author has gone about developing the paragraph, the passage, or not? If you are able to do that, then it becomes a bit more easier for you to be able to answer such questions. Now, what should be the approach that we need to apply? We have to read the questions, read the options. We have to revisit the part of the passage where the information asked in the question is stated, and then choose the correct option. You can also phrase the answer before you look at the options. So just like I said, if you're able to make the mind map a little, so just like I made this small mind map right now, if you are able to make this mind map, it becomes a bit more easier for you to mark the correct answer. All right, let's look at the next type of questions, which are the tone type questions. Now, tone type questions over these years, like I told you guys, it has been a very long time training students for this exam. I have met almost every aspirant coming up to me and telling me, ma'am, tone type questions are very difficult. But trust me, guys, they're not really difficult. The reason why you guys find it difficult is not because the fact that you are not able to identify the tone of the author. 90% of the times my students are able to identify the tone of the author. The only problem you guys generally face is the kind of options you get. Abhishek Thakur is asking, you gonna cover the whole RC? The whole RC, as in Abhishek, here we are not covering any reading comprehension in a sense. So for example, whole RC means that covering entire part of reading comprehension. That's not going to happen. Entire RC section you cannot finish in one go. So what we are doing is we are trying to work on some basic areas. We have kind of built our RC into various classes, because again I'll repeat, it is not one night's game, or it is not like something you can develop in a fortnight. It takes a lot of classes, but I'm going to cover some RCs today, some reading comprehensions, where you will be able to see a few questions and try to see how we have used these questions and how we are applying what techniques to make them easier for you, and how a faculty is answering these type of questions so that it becomes easier for you to mark them. All right, I hope I clarified you, Abhishek. If there is any more doubt, you can again ask me. Okay, so what do we mean by the tone? The tone here is nothing but the overall attitude which has been displayed by the author. Just like I said, it is not very difficult to identify कि author ने passage किस way में लिखा है. Like what is the idea behind writing the passage? What is his attitude? What is his approach? Right? So what is his attitude while writing the passage? Or you can say what was his approach. So it's not that difficult to identify this. The only problem is with the options, the kind of options which turn up on the examination. So, for example, they'll give you options like laudatory, euphemistic, denigrating, They'll give you options like pragmatic. So, at times you might be aware of the meaning, at times you might not be aware of the meaning of the sentence. So Abhishek here is saying, I mean on daily basis lecture. Yes, Abhishek, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be covering all the reading comprehension topics, and there are other plus courses also which I'm running, which will help you to work on your reading comprehension. We have already taken a few classes. So this is a capsule course on reading comprehension. As you can see, the name is here, capsule course on reading comprehension, and these course will help you guys to get through with many such topics which are confusing and might be a bit difficult for you guys to target. So when it comes down to cat RC, I will be providing you lectures pertaining to how to improve your reading comprehension as well as how to apply various tricks and techniques. Coming back to the topic that we were on. So, yes, this is what we were discussing, that how do we go ahead and mark the correct tone. So, the common question types for such type of questions are what? For example, the tone of the author in the passage is. So, what is the tone of the author? So, we have to mark that as the answer. The tone of the passage is, the style of the author can be best described as the author of the attitude of the author towards the main idea is. So, this is just asking you the tone. Now, what you should do is, you should not consider a paragraph in isolation to evaluate the tone. What you need to remember is you have to consider the passage as a whole. You have to think about the passage as a whole, and only then can you formulate your answer and then look for the options which are there. So, what we'll be doing is we'll be taking a tone type class, a tone based class, where we will be looking at all the tone type questions. I'll be teaching you tones in a manner where I'll be categorizing them. Otherwise, it's a bit difficult for us to teach the students the tones, but I what I do is I try to divide my tones into positive, negative, neutral, and then there are mixed tones. There are informative tones. There are criticizing tones, right? So there are various types of tones and categories which are there, and I'll be teaching you some terms which have been coming under these categories over the years on the CAD examination. So it becomes easier for you guys to remember them, and then tone questions, just like I said, they turn into vocabulary questions. So we are going to work on this vocab and try to mark the correct answer. Now let's try a few tone type questions. Now in these questions you have to identify the correct tone of the author. So all the students who are present here, I would request you guys to try this. Let's look at the very first one. It says all registered cyclists have passed an examination covering traffic rules and safety. Those interested in the new bike share program must register their bicycles and provide a major credit card to ensure payment. Call this number for more information. Now you have to decide whether the question here is argumentative, or the paragraph here is sentimental, idealistic, informative, or caustic in nature. So I'm giving you some time to think what should be the correct answer. You guys can reply on the live chat. Now this is an easy one. You can easily look at the paragraph and tell what should be the answer. So Rohan has answered here as D. Abhishek has also answered D. Very good, guys. Yes, the answer should be D here. The answer would be informative. Why? Because the paragraph here is purely factual in nature. It gives only facts and it has no stance whatsoever. We can't say that there were any arguments happening, nothing to do with sentiments, nothing idealistic too over here, and caustic is bitter. What do we mean by caustic? Something bitter. So nothing bitter also happening. The main objective of the passage looked like it wanted to give us some information. Like it's just giving basic information. It was facts. So that is why we have marked D as the answer. Anyone now? You guys can try the next question. So it says on hot summer nights, his family drove to the local ice cream stand, where for just a few minutes nothing mattered but the cold, sweet treat. No dessert before a since was delicious as a double dip cone eaten while he balanced on a log behind the parking lot. Now we have to decide what should be the correct answer. Waiting for your reply, guys. The options here are nostalgic, biting, irreverent, cynical, and satirical. In case you guys aren't able to see the E option, it is satirical. Abhishek has answered A. So Abhishek here feels the tone here is nostalgic. I agree with you, dear. Yes, the tone here is nostalgic, and the author is more or less going into a nostalgia, like thinking about what used to happen earlier, before, or since no dessert was as delicious as this and that. So he went into a certain nostalgia and thought about how things were. Nothing biting, irreverent about it. Irreverent is disrespectful. Cynical bhi kuch nahi ho raha, and satirical too, nothing to do with it. Let's look at the last one. Anyone who'd like to try? All right, let's discuss. So it says Iguacu Falls, which sits on the border between Argentina and Brazil, are said to make Niagara look like a leaky faucet. The Great Cataracts stretch for 2.5 miles across lushly foliaged rocky outcroppings before plunging a staggering 230 feet into the river below. The falls region is densely forested and it is home to a wide variety of plants and animals, including a number of endangered ones. It is a paradise where parrots dive and swoop through the spray, butterflies cavort, and among the tropical plants and coatis, and giant otters and anteaters amble through the trees. The foliage itself varies between tropical and deciduous, with orchids and blushing in the shades of pines and ferns, nodding gracefully in the shadow of fruit trees. The author's attitude can be best described as the following. So we have a few options here, and I guess Abhishek here has answered. Answer should be A. Overweening pride. Not really. The author is not priding at Ikuaku Falls. Here he is giving just basic admiration, not overweening. Especially the pride is not overweening over here. So definitely not the first one. It's like a basic admiration. So he is admiring, he is appreciating. So definitely yes, it could be positive appreciation. Mild acceptance तो नहीं लग रहा है. It is not as neutral as mild acceptance, so eliminated. Apathetic objectivity. Now it's not apathetic at all. That the fact that he's not concerned, he looks interested, he looks appreciate, like he's appreciating. So this is also not going to be the answer. Cautious optimism. Optimism is fine, but why cautious? Nothing cautious here. So answer would be B in this case. I hope it is clear to all of you. So I understand why you guys are not able to see the light, or why probably it is a bit difficult for you guys to mark the correct answer, because tones as a topic has not been conducted. But don't worry, no time a class on tones will be conducted, where it will become a bit more easier and acceptable for you guys to acclimatize yourself with various tones which are available. And we'll be, just like I said, categorizing a few tones for you and then making you guys learn these tones, so that it becomes a bit more easier for you to accept and apply them on the examination. Now before we move forward, there's this passage that I have here for you guys. Let's try to solve this. I'll give you guys some time to read it. So here we have not a very big passage, so yes, I think 4 minutes should be enough. All right, let's move ahead. Once you guys are done reading, you can try the questions. Anyone who would like to answer the first or the second question? So, in the first question, we are asked which of the following best describes what the passage is trying to do. First one says that questions on the explanation about how maps are designed. So, are we questioning necessarily just how they are designed? Because the very first line it says, understanding where you are in the world is a basic survival skill. This is why we, like the most species, come hardwired with specialized brain cells areas to create cognitive maps of our surroundings. Now, they are saying that we have communicated and we have a long history of doing this by drawing maps, and the how we drew them on this and that, and how last few hundred years may North has been consistently considered to be the top, but North Much never appeared at the top earlier. So it questions on an explanation about how maps are designed, not really how they are designed. It corrects a misconception about the way maps are designed. It is not correcting anything. It critiques a methodology used to create maps. So, we are not really critiquing a methodology, that's just a part of the passage. Yes, it does explore some myths about the maps, and that is what has been mentioned in the passage. So let's look at the next question. Early maps did not put north at top for all the following reasons, except it was a source of darkness. That was one reason. It was favored by some emperors, yes. They were most important for religious reasons for some civilizations, or it was considered to be a more positive direction. This will be the answer. Let's look at the next three questions. It says, according to the passage, early Chinese map place north at top. Why? Because they invented the compass and they were aware of magnetic north. They never invented the compass. It is just written that they had the compass. So, were actually oriented to point south, and which was considered to be more desirable than the deep darkest north. So they wanted to show some respect to the emperor, or the Chinese emperor appreciated the winds from the south. No, north was considered the most desirable direction. No, they wanted to show respect to the emperor. That is what is mentioned in this line. Emperor who lived in the north of the country was always put at top of the map with everybody else. So they wanted to show respect to the emperor. It can be inferred from the passage that European explorers like Columbus and Magellan set the precedents for north up maps, or navigated by the compass, or used an eastward origin for religious reasons, or navigated with the help of early maps. So we can find this answer here. So it says, when did everyone got together and decided the north was on top? So it's saying that it was easy to put it down to these explorers, but Broughton argues that these explorers didn't think of world like that. And when Columbus describes the world in accordance with ease being at the top, he's saying he goes towards the paradise. And we've got to remember, no one knows what they are doing. So they set the precedent for north up maps, or they navigated by the compass. They did not navigate by the compass. They use an eastward orientation for religious reasons, yes, because they thought they were going towards the paradise. Now, which is the following about the northern orientation of modern maps is asserted in the paragraph? The biggest contributory factor here was that understanding of the magnetic north. Contributory factor was the European role of European explorers. Influence of Chinese maps, or it is not stated. It is not stated in the passage altogether. The role of natural phenomena in influencing map making conventions is seen most clearly in role of natural phenomena. So let's try to go back to it. So Christians thought that it's because of the paradise. Chinese thought that, because their emperor is on the east. So let's try to north. So we'll give it him that particular logic. Islam kind of. So they thought they were north of Mecca. So they imagined looking south towards it, and that was the reason. And Egyptian maps, I think the answer is going to be Egyptian maps. Yes, because that's how is the most natural explanation. All right. It says nature. Now there is another paragraph. This is a very small passage which has been given to you guys, and we have a few questions based on them. So let's quickly try to read it. You guys have like 2 minutes to read the passage. All right, let's look at the questions here. The very first question here says nature writing emphasizes on what? So it talks about historical facts about the nature, philosophical interpretations of the nature, or scientific information and facts. If I look at the paragraph, it says encompasses a variety of works ranging from those that place primary emphasis on natural history facts to those in which philosophical interpretation predominate. It includes natural history essays, poetry, essays of solitude, as well as travel and adventure writing. So, historical facts, yes. Philosophical interpretations, yes. And then it says scientific information and facts. I'll have to come to the next paragraph. It says often draws heavily on scientific information and facts about the natural world. At the same time, it is frequently written in first person and incorporates personal observation. So, what will be the answer here? It will be all of the above. All are true. Next is based on the passage, what is the period to which the modern nature writing can be traced to? So, modern nature writing traces its roots to the work of natural history, second half of the 18th century, and throughout 18th, 19th century, right? So, that's what has been given. So, second half of 18th century to throughout the 19th century. Answer here. So, I hope you guys are aware that the answer would be this one because that's how we write 18th century. So right now we are in 21st century, although we are in the 20s. So that's how the years are marked. Let's try the next three questions. I'll give you guys 1 minute's time to try these. All right, let's discuss these questions. So the very first question says which statement summarizes the above paragraph. The first one says the passage talks about the life and lessons of Gilbert White. Gilbert White wasn't the main focus of the paragraph, so it's just a part of the passage. This is an option trap which is called omission of crucial data. So we cannot mark this as the answer because it omits certain data which is important to answer the above question. So the second one says it talks about how nature writing is missing in the modern era and needs to be revived. Really not the answer. From where the writers draw inspiration, how its importance is diminishing in modern era. Not really. We did not say anything about that. The passage talks about what nature writing is and the different types of nature writing, its style, about the roots and pioneer of modern nature writing. Very well. Yes, this will be the correct answer. I hope all of you would agree with me. Let's look at the next question. It says which word aptly describes the word reflections as used in the passage. So if I come back to the passage, reflections has been used in the line. Yes. So it says it is frequently written in the first person and incorporates personal observations of and philosophical reflections upon nature. Philosophical opinions is what we mean to say. Very good opinion is already there as an option. So I hope you guys understand why we have picked it up is the answer. So looking at the fifth question, it says according to the passage, what kind of works are written as part of nature writing? The first one says natural history essays and essays of solitude and escape, yes. Second is poetry, yes. Travel and adventure writing, yes. All are true, so the answer would be D. So this was level of difficulty 1, which is the easiest level which would turn up on the examination. Now we have another passage in front of you. Quickly, I want you guys to be able to read it. quickly finish the passage so we can go ahead and discuss the questions. All right, I hope all of you are done reading the passage. Now, let's read furthermore. There's a little bit more of the passage left. All right, let's look at the questions here. And the very first question asks us the word topophobia in the passage is used. Let's look at the options which are available. It says to represent a feeling of dread towards particular spaces and places, to signify the fear of studying the complex discipline of topography, or to as a metaphor for expressing the failure of the homeland to accommodate non-citizens, or to signify feelings of fear or anxiety towards topophilic people. So, when it comes to this question, the passage was the simplest of all the passages, I would say. And the answer to the first question can easily be found in the passage itself. It has been mentioned in the last sentence, if you guys can see, where the author introduces the idea of topophobia, and as it says, and as just beloved, if you guys can read it here, landscape is suddenly revealed, so to may landscapes of fear cast a dark shadow over a face, over a place that makes one feel a sense of dread or anxiety or topophobia. Therefore we know what should be the correct answer. First option will be the correct answer here. Let's get the next one. It says, which of the following statements, if true, could be seen as not contradicting the arguments in the passage? So let's look at uh, this question. So it seems like a slightly difficult question, and we have to read the options carefully and look for the ones that is not against what the author has to say in the argument, and we have to find out the one which will not contradict the author's argument. We have to mark the choice that is not contradicting what the author has to say. So let's look at the first one. The first one says, most important, even fundamental response to our environment is our tactile and olfactory response. This contradicts the author, because the author says that olfactory response is the third most important factor. Well, the option says that this is the most important factor, so that is the reason why it is getting contradicted in the passage. This is eliminated. Second option says, generally speaking, in a given culture, the ties of the people to their environment vary little in significance or intensity. This is also contradicting my author. This will be ruled out, because the author says in the first paragraph that the emotive ties with the material environment vary greatly from person to person and in intensity, subtlety, and mode of expression. The author says very, very greatly, right, in the paragraph, and here it says very little. So we can say that it eliminate this option is eliminated. So when we look at option 3 says patriotism, usually seen as a positive feeling, is presented by the author as a dark form of topophilia. Yes, this is correct. This can be seen in the last paragraph. It is parallel to what my author has to say. This is not contradicting the author's argument. This should be the answer. Fourth option here says new urbanism succeeded in those designs where architects collaborated with their clients. This is also going to be ruled out because it goes against what my author has to say. So answer here would be the third one. It was a tricky question, but it can be handled. If you know, if you have a deeper understanding of the passage, it might not be that difficult. The next question asks you, in the last paragraph, the author uses the example of residents of upscale residential developments to illustrate what? Now, what we'll do is we'll go back and read these lines. It says, residents of upscale residential developments have disclosed how important it is to maintain their community's distinct identity, and often by casting themselves in superior social position by reinforcing class and racial differences. And further, we have just read what it is. Now, this can be answered by understanding the context in which this phrase has come. So, I think when I look at the options, it says introduction of nationalist projects by such elites, no social exclusivism practiced by such a residents in order to enforce a sense of racial or class superiority. I think all of you would agree. This is a simple question. Answer would be the second one. Let's look at the next question. The next question says within the following options best captures the meaning of the statement. Topophilia is the difficult to design for and impossible to quantify. So we can just read the sentence that follows this sentence. So let's come to that paragraph. It was somewhere, I think it's in the latter part only. Yes, here. It says topophilia is difficult to design for and impossible to quantify, and his most articulate interpreters have been self reflective philosophers such as Henry David Thoreau, evoking a marvelously intricate sense of place at Walden Pond and Tuan, describing his deep affinity for the desert. Okay, so Henry David liked the pond while Tuan liked the desert. So this is some kind of subjectiveness which has been shown. Let's look at the options. It says people's responses to their environment are usually subjective, so cannot be rendered in design perfect. This is exactly what we were looking for, the correct answer. Let's look at the last question. It says, which one of the following comes closest in meaning to the author's understanding of topophilia? So, topophilia means love for a particular place, and the choice that we are going to pick right now must reflect love. So the very first option says tendency of many cultures to represent their land as motherland or fatherland may be seen as an expression of their topophilia. Okay, nomadic societies are known to have the least affinity for lands through which they traverse because they tend to be tropophobic. So again, it goes out because in the option we have least affinity for the place, so not any love. So third option says the French are not overly patriotic, but they will refuse to use English as far as possible when they know it well. Scientists have found that most creatures, including humans, are either born with a cultivated song sense of topography. So I think the first option is the only one which shows some kind of love and it fits the meaning of topophilia. So option 2 is eliminated. 3 says that French are not patriotic. So it goes out because topophilia will bring patriotism. Topography has nothing to do with topophilia, right? So topography के साथ confuse नहीं करते. Answer is the first one. I hope all of you could see how we have found the answer. This is level of difficulty 2 passage. Let's look at another passage. I'll give you guys some time to read it. This is the second slide. All right, let's move on to the questions. I hope you guys have understood the passage. So, the author in the first paragraph is doing what? Contradict his stance against the internet, or he's trying to assert his opinion against the internet, or is he refuting the claim that he's anti internet, or resenting the claim that he is anti technology? So let's try to see how do we go ahead with this. So when it comes down to this question, we'll just go back to this paragraph and read this paragraph. It says, not long ago, I published an open letter to my grandson encouraging him to develop his memory by, among many other things, resisting the urge to get all the information of internet. In response, I was accused in the blogosphere of being anti-internet. But this is a bit like saying that anyone who criticizes people who speed on the highway or drive while intoxicated is against automobiles. So let's try to see what the author intends to say. Is he trying to contradict his stance against the internet? No. Assert his opinion against the internet? No. Anti technology? No. But refute the claim that he is anti internet. So he was known to be an anti internet person, but he's just trying to refute that claim here. Let's look at the next question. It says, why does the author blame the quiz contestants in the passage? So, I think the quiz contestants have been discussed um, here. Yes, in the second paragraph, it says in response to my recent column about young show contestants who betrayed their generation's ignorance by guessing that Hitler and Mussolini were still alive in the 60s and 70s, the Italian journalist Eugenio Scalafari criticized me in Espresso magazine for the opposite excess, saying that I trust the internet too much as a source of information. Now, these ignorant contestants had fallen into the trap of fake news. Not fake news, this is eliminated. These kids were dead set against using cerebellous cells. No, they were excessively dependent on the internet for their information. Yes, so this is the answer. Let's look at the next question. It says, why does the author give the example of invention of writing in the passage? Uh, so the author has yes, this is where he has tried to talk about invention of writing. So it says, as it happens, the act of writing actually stimulates people to remember what they have read. Moreover, it is thanks to the advent of writing that Porus was able to produce a celebration of memory. That writing helps you to remember. So, to prove that internet can have a positive effect on people's power of retention, internet no. To prove that writing had a constructive effect on the concept of memory. Okay, yes. This is what was being talked about. And let's get the next three questions. It says, how can teachers capitalize on the students' tendency to plagiarize? So, teachers can make sure that the students cross check the validity of the information. Yes, at least that can be done, right? This is what has been mentioned in the passage. So it says, according to the passage, the critics blame internet for all of the following except it has an adverse effect on students' ability to retain information. Yes. It has misled people on providing dubious information. Yes. Internet has adversely affected people's ability to cultivate relationship. Okay, yes. But encouraging teachers to search different websites for teaching information, this is incorrect. This is not what has been mentioned. So this will be the correct answer. Rest of the options will not be. Let's look at the last question. It says, which of the following expressions best captures the author's attitude towards the internet? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That doesn't make sense. It is a necessary evil, maybe. Two wrong don't make a right. No. A watch pot never boils. No, it is a necessary evil. You cannot eliminate it from your life, but it is evil. Once again, I would like to remind you guys that do not forget to subscribe for the Unacademy Plus subscription. You will be offered various options with the 12 and 12 for 24 months plans being the most lucrative ones. You can use my referral code, which is Nitika10,